Okay, we should be live, so welcome anybody who's watching to the Ponyville Cider Fest 2017 all staff meeting. If you are staff and you are watching this, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time. If you are staff watching this at a later time, thank you. There's going to be a lot of information covered in here, so please do try and watch until the end, or at least until we say, okay, I think we've covered everything before we start to chatter about whatever for like the next 10 or 15 minutes. And if you're not staff and you're just popping in to see what's going on, hello. I don't mind giving a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look into how we're doing things, just so just for the fun of it. So hang out, try not to overload the chat room too much, just so staff can make sure to kind of have the focus there. Yeah, if you're watching and if you have any questions and your staff, go ahead and drop your questions in the YouTube chat. Somebody do me a favor and just make sure to keep an eye on that for me to make sure that all questions get answered as we go. But aside from that, we'll start by just kind of going through and introducing ourselves. I am Charlie Worthley. I'm the convention chair and PR director. Next to me is my better half.
Hi.
Her name's Michelle. and that's Pyro. He's our internal house moral support group, I guess you could say. So we'll just kind of go down the line as I see him here. Serverette, go ahead and say hi.
Hello, my name is Serverette. I'm the operations director.
Okay, next up we have Vivid.
Hey, I'm Vivid. I am head of events.
Main events he's our main events department head. Next up I've got Finn.
Hi, I'm the department head for Royal Guard.
Next up I see Larsis.
Hi there, I'm the department head for audio visual.
Indeed. Next up I have Callum. Who is still muted. Who may have walked away. So after him I've got Mr. Cowboy Dave.
Hello, hello. I'm Cowboy Dave, and I am your events director.
And then next, I know she's in the car, so but I've got Danielle.
Hi. The health assistant head of special events. Hello.
Thanks for joining, Danielle. You might be going through a kind of a rough signal area right there, so we won't bug you too much until I'm not sure if you're going to be back on Wi-Fi for in the duration of the meeting. But if anything comes up that we need your input for, we'll bug you then for that. And then last on my list here, I've got Brandon.
Hi, I'm Fire Envy. I'm the department head of vendor hall.
Yep.
And sort of Skiggles is here. She's not feeling so good, and she's the head of design and the assistant department head of vendor hall.
Broke up a little bit at the end there. Skiggles is our art, basically, department head. Tell her that we all hope she feels better, and hello also. So the people that are on the call right now represent maybe I think about half of the management behind the convention. We've got a whole lot of other people that either couldn't be here or just don't fit in the Hangouts because it only supports 10 people actually being in the call. But yeah, so the point of this meeting basically is just to go over information that pertains to all staff. We're not going to get too department specific. Departments, if you haven't already, will probably be having individual departmental meetings, covering your specific the specific parts of your duties and your responsibilities and all that. So kind of what we're going to talk about here is just kind of more for everybody. First off, staff, when you get to, actually I'll turn this over to Serverette. Will, when staff show up at the hotel, what do they do?
They will go to the manager's suite, which I believe is still on the 3rd floor. You take the elevator up, and then you turn right, and then you turn right, and you walk all the way to the end of the hall, and it's the last room on your right. And then they will get there to pick up your badge at a time that we don't have yet because we haven't settled that down yet, but we will post it on Slack at the time that staff badges will be available this year. When you get your staff badge, you will need a photo ID to be presented. Otherwise, It's very simple. We're going to question who you are until you get really annoyed. So it's just really easy just to bring a photo ID instead. And then you will have to pick up your staff shirt. And when you got your staff ticket on Eventbrite, you would have selected your staff shirt. Please use the one, say only the shirt you used on there, because we'll be checking anyway. And we only ordered a certain amount of shirts, so please don't be taking other people's shirts because you feel like it. And I'm pretty sure that's almost all of it.
Okay, yeah, I think that pretty much covers it all. The most important points of that are, just make sure that you do have your ID and your Eventbrite thing out, just as if you were checking into the convention normally. And even it just makes things easier on their end, just so we can scan everybody and check in, make sure that we see who's shown up and who's gotten their shirt and all that. I think we're going to try very hard to actually partition the shirts out this year and put them with the staff badges, so there won't be any guesswork. And then in terms of who's getting what size, we'll just have it all prepped, hopefully. On that note, up until the end of this month, fuzzy on that, I'll post the exact date when we're going to be placing around the end of this month, staff. If you want, in case you think that your staff shirt size may have changed since you got your staff badge, that's the selection we're going to be looking at, not your application, but when you actually registered for your staff badge, you can update that to be, just make sure that you're ordering the correct size, just in case, maybe that changed since you got your staff badge. So just make sure that that's correct, and then that'll be the size we'll order. We should also be having some sort of method for people. I know sometimes they like to purchase additional staff shirts, either just for spares or just so they can have just wear not wear the same shirt all 3 days. Some people do, some people don't. Whatever you want to do is fine, as long as your staff shirt is kept clean and all that. So we should be giving the option at least to purchase the additional staff shirts. So stay tuned for further instructions on that. Just going down a list of stuff that we've talked about in previous meetings here. Will, you want to go ahead and just generally speaking kind of talk about radios and radio policies?
I will be posting everyone's favorite document where it says you're going to be tested on this in the Slack eventually. But a general overview of radios are they're not the best radios. We know they're not the best radios. No, we're not buying new radios. We got for radios, how they work, general overview. You've all probably been here before, but I'll go over it again. Press the button, wait 2 to 3 seconds before you start talking, otherwise it cuts off the beginning of the thing. Use the "Hey you, that's me" format, as in, for example, operations, this is server rep. And, just don't use bad words, because some people might not be wearing a headset, and technically it's against the law, but no one enforces it. But still, don't use curse words. Keep the traffic professional, convention-related, please. And they also cost money if you lose them, but that'll also be in the document that I'm sending out. And that's a general overview on radios.
Yep. Just catching up on a couple questions I'm seeing in the YouTube chat here. Yes, the operations room it'll have one of those banners. If you've ever been to either Cyberfest or Windy City, you've seen those tall, skinny banners that we put outside of every room, just kind of indicating which room it is. There will be one of those outside operations, so you'll be able to find it via that. And my easiest way of describing where the room is, if you've been inside the Hyatt Regency in Milwaukee before, it's that big open space there. The manager's suite, when you're looking, when you're standing in the atrium, and you're kind of the elevators are kind of towards the levels going up. When you're standing in the atrium, you're on the 2nd floor. So then the first balcony you see is the 3rd floor. It's the one all the way like clockwise on the 3rd floor. So when you go to the 3rd floor, just kind of follow it clockwise all the way around, and then you'll see it at the end until you get going farther, basically. So, but yes, it will be lit. I saw another question. What was it? If just real quick, if anybody asks a question and we miss it, please ask it again, just because I want to make sure that all of our questions are answered. I see that my audio is breaking up. I'm not sure what I can do about that. Maybe you're just causing interference. It's fine. I guess we'll just power through here. General, am I any better? Can you guys hear me right now? Okay.
Can you say exterminate for us, Charlie?
Exterminate. So I guess I'm pretty bad. Hang on, I'm gonna have to switch to my headset here. You'll still be able to hear. I'm just gonna switch the mic. Check one. Check one. Am I any better?
You are much better.
You sound better.
Okay. All right. So, Michelle, if you say anything, I'll just have to lean into the mic here. Okay. So, yeah. So define operations. Third floor. Just go clockwise until you can't go any farther. It's the first floor above the atrium. In case I'm not sure when I started to go robot before, but yeah. Okay. So next, kind of one of the more important things for me, just general harassment policy. I wish we lived in a world where we didn't have to have a harassment policy, but unfortunately we don't. So the easiest way to sum up our harassment policy is don't be stupid and be respectful and make sure everybody has a good time. I mean, this applies just as much to attendees as it does to staff. You know, nobody gets any free passes in this regard. I will be just as just as stern on enforcing this with staff and community guests and musicians and attendees. Nobody gets special treatment in as far as this kind of thing goes. If anybody is not sure what's covered under the harassment policy or even just a staff policy, please do review them on the website. When you go to the website, excuse me, under the volunteer link, there's a little drop-down menu, and you can find our, let me make sure I'm saying the right thing here. Under volunteer, you can find our volunteer agreement, which then also has, which has rules and policies for volunteers, but it also specifies that our volunteer staff are also subject to our general rules and code of conduct and anti-harassment policies. And those two things I think are linked off of that page, but then they're also out on the website. So please review these if you have any questions, because there will be no second chances on this stuff. Okay, so just before we move on, does anyone have any questions? I'm watching the YouTube chat and listening from my fellow managers here. Does anyone have any questions to point out or highlight on any of these policies? Just give it a few seconds to see if anybody replies. Generally speaking, this has had a super huge problem before. Hopefully we can maintain that. But I'll be watching for any questions. But aside from that, I'll go ahead and move on. In terms of specific volunteer policies, I'll just real briefly just highlight the bullet points here. So first of all, one, maintain a professional and helpful attitude in all dealings with attendees, exhibitors, guests, and fellow volunteers. You are on staff. You are a representative of the convention. And to be super clear on this, if you are wearing your staff shirt, which for most departments is the uniform. On that note, if anybody has any questions about the dress code for your specific departments, you can talk to your department heads, because different departments may have specific exceptions or whatever for their dress codes. But generally speaking, our dress code is just appropriate. Pants, slacks, skirts, whatever, and then the staff shirt that we provide you. Like I was saying, if you are wearing your staff shirt, I don't care if you're technically on shift or not, you are a representative of the convention. Even if you're coming off shift and, let's say you were scheduled until 6, at 6:05, you're on your way up to your room to change, somebody comes up to you and asks you a question, the answer is not, sorry, I'm not on shift. If you're in your shirt, you are on shift. So just to be super, super clear on that. Taking care of our attendees is priority, and so just make sure that everybody is keeping that in mind in all of your interactions with them. And then, of course, when you're doing so, be friendly, be polite, be helpful. If you don't know the answer to the question, the answer is not, I don't know. The answer is, I don't know, but I will find out. And then you radio somebody or you go talk to somebody and you get them the answer. You want to, we don't, we never want our attendees to feel like they're not being taken care of. So, so on that note, do be knowledgeable of the convention as best as you can. Whatever your department's official, internal method is as far as communication, whether it be Slack or if you're primarily radio based or whatever that is. Just make sure that you're keeping up on that so you know what's going on. Anytime that you hear an announcement go out over the radios that sounds important, that especially if it starts with all hands or all staff or something like that, do pay attention because it's probably important, probably something that everybody needs to know. So yes, kilts are perfectly fine, absolutely. But just make sure you know what's going on, or if you don't know, like I said, do find out when asked a question. Number 3, perform your duties to the best of your abilities and show up a little early for your shift/duties. Self-explanatory, right? Number 4, dress appropriately, just covered that. Number 5, be sober and clear-headed. So just to kind of paraphrase that, obviously, this is Cider Fest. Obviously, there is going to be imbibing happening by those that are ages of 21 or over, and that's all fine. Whatever people want to do when they're not on shift and not in their staff shirt, by all means, have fun. Kind of the first rule of this entire thing of having these conventions. If it's not fun, then you're kind of missing the entire point. So please do enjoy yourselves. However, it's important for all staff members to show up to their shifts on time and to be clear-headed and not be hungover or whatever. So when you're off shift and you're out of your staff shirt and you're hanging out and partying and whatever you're doing Friday night, just make sure you don't overdo it. So in case you have to get up early Saturday morning, because even though we're all volunteers, even though we're all here to have fun, it does sort of need to be looked at still as a job in that respect. So just to please make sure that you're not, harming or interfering with the other people in your department by not being able to meet your commitments. I'll leave it at that. Managers, as I'm going here, if anybody wants to pop in with anything, by all means, go right ahead. Next up, be humble and modest in your position. This goes from first-year staffers all the way up to me. It's great that that we're all donating our time essentially to this and everything, but staff, at the end of the day, we're not any more special than anybody else there. So I don't want to hear about any staff talking down to anybody. I don't want to hear about anybody abusing their powers, or anything like that. So just keep that in mind. Like, there's no jumping in line and autographs. There's no, again, just basic common sense here applies. But one question that always seems to come up is just on the term, as far as like autographs are concerned. Staff do not get free autographs. We do not get discounted autographs, and this is not me. This is the contracts we have with the guests. So there's what I'm telling you is basically enforced by the agents and the documentation that we've signed to bring these people here. Now, has it happened in the past where guests have offered to give free autographs? Of course, but if you go up to a guest and ask for an autograph, especially in an autograph session, and well, I should say actually only in an autograph session, because we shouldn't be asking for autographs outside of autograph sessions. But when you do go up, do have a voucher ready to give to them in case they ask for it, and assume that they are going to. If they politely decline to accept the voucher, then congratulations, it's your lucky day. But do be prepared to offer up one. Michelle, anything to add to that? No? Okay. Finally, number 7, get plenty of sleep, plenty eat, and stay clean. Who knows what 621 is? Anybody?
6 meals a day, 2 showers, and an hour's sleep, right?
I thought
Exactly.
6 miles walked, 2 snacks, and 1 hour nap.
Perfect. Yeah. I think. Oh, hey. Jason, I see that you're here. Sad Panda's here, everybody. Everybody say hi to Sad Panda.
Hello.
He's our operations department head. But yeah, 6-2-1, 6 hours of sleep, 2 meals a day at least, and 1 shower. Emphasis on the please 1 shower. We've all been, most of us have probably done enough conventions to know that people do not follow one or more of these general guidelines. I'm certainly, because I'm sure every single one of our AV staff gets 6 hours of solid sleep every night. I'm sure that happens.
Oh, definitely. Even if it's, ever free artists cot that we keep along the air wall in the main hall, which we totally don't, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. AV gets exactly 6 hours of sleep every single night, I promise.
Yep, absolutely. Or they're medicaled or something, or I send them for a Red Bull. I don't really. Yes, definitely 6 hours though.
We'll just smile and nod. But the sort of the point here is that these are guidelines. They're good guidelines. They're solid guidelines. If you are capable of functioning just as well on 4 or 5 hours of sleep as on 6, good for you. If you are capable of functioning on 1 meal and maybe a whole bunch of little snacks here and there as opposed to 2 meals, great. The 1 shower a day thing is the one that's kind of harder to fake because Axe body spray is not your best friend. It is not a replacement for a shower. So in all seriousness, fortunately, I personally have not had to have this interaction with anybody, but if it is reported to me that a staffer is, noticeably in violation of the 1 shower a day policy, I would not be reserved in having the awkward interaction of asking them to please go back to their room and freshen up. So please don't make me have to have that conversation with you, or your department heads may also have that conversation with you. Please don't make them do that either. Please and thank you.
I have no shame in calling you out when you don't take a shower. I'm just pointing that out there. So take a shower.
This kind of goes back to the thing of being a representative of the convention. So just keep that in mind. You want to be presentable and personable to our attendees.
Yeah,
And your fellow staff.
I've actually given this speech to someone one time. It was a fun time.
Yeah. So
and all of those rules also apply. They help with your health and your attendees' health and your staff and the guests. For example, just got back from another convention and I have bronchitis, laryngitis, and strep throat, most likely because of the convention. So that's with people sort of following the 621. Don't make it worse for people like me.
That's a very good point. Side note, also, note, if for those of you that get flu shots, maybe think about that because I think they take a couple weeks or like a month to actually kick in and be effective. So if you're the type that gets a flu shot, now would probably be the time to do that, just so that you're solidly protected once we get to Ciderfest, because I think we're like 40-odd days out right now. Yeah, so Railer Shy, no, 6 bourbons. What was it? It's just scrolled up. Six bourbons, 2 scotches, and 1 beer. No, that's not 621. That's a bad night, is what that is. So yes. Good. Okay, so those are the general bullet points in terms of staff policy. Aside from the just general attendee code of conduct, excuse me, harassment and all that. Obviously, have your badges on at all time. Confidentially non-disclosure, that's an important thing. When you're on staff, especially if you're in a position where you might be around guests of honor, where they might be talking about things like upcoming projects. Just keep in mind that anything that you hear that you've been privileged enough to overhear needs to remain privileged. And I just heard somebody say blah, blah, blah all over social media just because that causes our guests, and that's not something that we want to have happen. hopefully everybody has at least looked over the volunteer policies. So I won't continue to itemize them here. The the ones I've talked about are kind of the important ones, unless in terms of just general managers, in terms of just general behavior and things that are kind of policy and common sense related. Is there anything that anybody wants to call out that we haven't gone over already?
Can you tell everyone our badge pull policy?
Oh yes, thank you. So to be super clear, the only person in the entire convention and on the entire staff that can pull anyone's badge, and by that I mean staff, by that I mean attendees, for any reason, is myself. In the past, it has also been Corey, but since Corey won't be joining us this year, he'll be over with the furries at Aquatifer. That leaves just me. So if anybody runs into a situation where somebody's behaving in a way that is, violating any of our policies enough to, to consider, that needs to work up the chain to me. Get me involved. Find me over a radio. Call me if you have to. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you're security. It doesn't matter if you're a department head. I just to be super clear about this. I am the only one that can make that decision, and the main reason we do that. Why that's been Corey's policy in the past, and I'm going to keep it being our policy, is just it just removes all the gray area of potential problem situations that could occur from somebody overreacting to a situation. Don't pull somebody else's badge, because if you do, I will be pulling yours, and it really is just that simple. Anything else, managers, that should be covered?
So on the discussion of badges, whether you're on shift or not, have your badge on you at all times is fantastic and makes everyone's job easier.
Absolutely, yeah. So, for staff, when you're not on shift, and you're not in your staff shirt, I mean, obviously, to be in any convention space, you have to have your badge on anyways. So, what Finn is saying is absolutely true. Just like an attendee, wouldn't be able to go into convention areas without their badge on. The same goes for staff. So as long as you're not in your staff shirt, you're considered a normal attendee, just in terms of what you can do and all that fun stuff. But, yeah. Yes. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So kind of going back and touching on the staff are not special, I guess, policy for it. So in terms of autograph room, when the policy that we're going to have for our autograph room is that basically there's no kind of situations. It's if you want to come in the autograph room, you have to have an autograph voucher, and that will basically apply to staff as well. And then in terms of where you can and cannot go, anything that would be considered like a backstage or behind the scenes type area should only be accessed by people that are pertinent to that area. So if you're in AV, obviously you're going to be behind the stage. But if you're the kids department, just to pick an example off the top of my head, you probably don't have any reason to be behind stage in the main hall, for example. So the reason for this is frankly, those areas are small and they get very crowded, and we just don't. They're not a hangout space. They're a functional space, to make sure that that we have room to need to do what we do back there. So just try and keep yourself to the areas where that are pertinent to your department, and then obviously when you're off shift, don't go anywhere that a normal attendee can't go. And then also just generally kind of sort of connected to that in a weird way, please do clean up after yourselves. So even if you are, in like backstage areas or things like that, if you are like whether behind registration, just generally speaking, we're only here for 3 days, and down and all that fun stuff. But please don't leave a mess behind. Obviously this isn't like super staff related, but just as an example that popped in my head when I was talking about the last thing, it always seems to be a pseudo tradition that after the concert, the backstage area at main stage is trashed. So we'll be talking to Blue Nose Reindeer, our musician head, about speaking to the musicians about making sure that situation doesn't occur again, because we're both tired of it. But that just sort of also relates to honestly everything else. Just don't leave a mess. Clean up after yourself, and also clean up after other people too. If you're walking somewhere and you see garbage on the floor, pick it up, because it just makes the entire convention look better when there's if there's not crud everywhere. So that's that.
Can I touch on something really quick?
You sure?
Okay, I guess I'll take the floor. When you were talking about who is allowed to pull badges and things like that, if you do come across a situation that is of concern, I don't know if we touched on the there's kind of a hierarchy to go through. If you see something of concern, go to your supervisor, and then if it's something that they can't handle, they'll escalate it. So don't feel like I need to run down Charlie. I am the only hope of the convention. Like, just there's a system in place. Charlie's not the chosen one. I mean, he's got the rest of us to kind of help him pull things together, because he is insanely busy, and so is Michelle. So if it's something that can be easily resolved by our manager, just try to go that route first. And then if we can't solve a problem for you, then we'll take it the rest of the way.
Bless your heart, Dave. Bless your heart.
I try.
Yeah. I actually saw a question in the chat that I wanted to answer.
Okay.
Which they asked, when does setup start on Thursday night? And if it turns out they can make it, even though they originally said they couldn't, can they help out? I'm going to say yes, absolutely. The help would be appreciated. There's a lot of stuff to be set up, and not just in my department. This is all of the many halls in the convention there, from children's programming through the main halls, possibly even the vendor halls if they ask for people to help them move stuff.
But only if we ask, please.
Yes.
Theft is always a major concern on most vendors' minds, especially during setup and teardown.
But Charlie, do we have a time when the room is open for everyone yet to begin setup?
Oh yeah, I posted that in the manager's channel like a couple days ago. Let me scroll back.
3 p.m.
I believe,
is what I'm seeing.
So the main ballroom, which is half main events and half vendor hall, is available at 3 p.m. And the manager's suite is available at 6 a.m. So basically all day Thursday. Other at various times, but I think by 6 on Thursday at the latest. And then I posted, I forget, I think it was 6, either 3 or 6 for video gaming. Just confirming that. I forget what it was. But so yeah, also yeah, this could have been mentioned back when we were talking about what staff do when they get to the hotel. So after you picked up your badge, at some point, presumably, at some point before the convention, your department head will have let you know what to do and where to go when you get there. So do that first, and if it turns out that your particular department is done and you don't, and you're available to help, it's almost a certainty that there will be something for you to do somewhere. If there's any need for additional help in any areas, it will be posted on Slack in the general chat most likely. So as far as when should I show up, at that the general, I mean, there will be things to do probably starting at noon, honestly. Just putting stuff, kind of getting stuff set up and organized in the manager's suite, and then as the main halls start to get set up and the various gaming, tabletop, registration, as soon as those areas start to become available, especially registration, because they're the first ones to actually like get, actually become open to dealing with attendees because of pre-reg on Thursday night, which starts at 5. Yeah, if you're available to help, please do help with anybody that needs it. And setup will be going. I mean, Lars says, when does the main hall usually? If you're gonna be able to start moving into the room at 3 p.m., when would you estimate that that the setup portion of it before they programming and everything starts? When would you estimate that would be complete?
Generally, we split it into 3 sections there. Audio and video world is usually finished about 3 to 5 hours after setup begins. Lighting ends whenever lighting ends because they have a lot of work to do.
Right.
We also have a networking component this year, which will complicate matters a little bit, but I figure that everything should be, that everything except for, as I said, lighting, should be finished by probably 9 o'clock is what I'm going to aim for, based on a 3 p.m. start time. Or Server Rat, when are we getting our gear in, do you think?
He's gone.
Okay, he's not here. We'll just pretend that we're getting that at 1 a.m. the previous night, but joking aside, we should be finished with major audio and video setup by about 9 or 10 p.m. at the latest. As for the secondary rooms, those are quick and easy. Those are just basic audio and video setup, so those take about an hour or 2 each. And that's all there. Chairs and such, we don't actually move those, do we?
No, yeah. As far as like tables and chairs and things like that, the hotel takes care of that for us. They got to do something for all the money we're bringing them. But so
regarding those, I just want to use my line that I will be using at the convention the whole night. Whenever someone asks, can we get a bunch of crew together to help move chairs and tables? Which I'm going to say, no, we can't. But if we pick up that house phone right over there, we can get staff up here who will.
Yep. But hopefully that won't be needed because we'll be providing the hotel with the list of all the room changes that need to happen and when they happen and everything. But hopefully they'll be on top of that. But yes, no, exactly. Otherwise, taking a moment to kind of review the chat room here. Going off script a little bit just because I don't want to forget about it because I'm seeing it in chat. Yes, I'm not sure what this is in reference to, but I see Railershy mentioning that there's no headless lounge this year. Yes, that's correct. In short, just referring to this in the headless lounge of both Ciderfest and Winnie City, to me, as pretty much as far as everybody I've talked to, has been tremendously underutilized space. Winnie City kind of more so because it's such a central location. I know at Ciderfest it's a room that's kind of like tucked into the basement, but throwing that into the conversation with taking into consideration that we're competing against a furry convention, right over in the Wisconsin Dells, Quadrifer and everything. We just didn't think that there was enough justification to room space to having a headless / cosplay lounge this year. So instead we made it into an additional panel room. So and also just to make the names a little bit more fun. So last year we had panel room 1 and panel room 2. This year we have the barley room and the caramel room. And then what used to be the headless lounge is now panel room 3, which is actually called the oak room because that's the name I came up with. So but yeah, so just kind of explain why that decision was made in case anyone was wondering. Yes, well, we do have an org chart. Basically, though, if you look at the staff list on the website, the staff directory, that basically functions as an org chart. Because you can kind of see, in the very first column is like level 1 through 7, and when you look at it, you can kind of see the structure of it. I have a visual one that just kind of represents the managers, but it essentially says the same thing. But yeah, the staff list that's on the website, the staff directory, I should say, kind of illustrates the organizational structure of the con here.
Charlie, can I ask a question request?
Yeah.
I saw I came a little bit late. Did we talk about radios and getting them in at the end of the day and making sure we have radio professionalism?
Server Red covered the policy, the radio use policy. We didn't really talk about getting them and returning them. So why don't you cover that real quick?
Okay, so it just helps out operations a lot if everybody can turn in their radios at the end of the day when everything's closed down. I know some people keep their radios overnight that actually need them overnight, because I know AV stays up to ungodly hours. So for those of you who don't need your radios anymore, please get them back to operations as soon as possible. That helps us be able to charge radios, make sure we are accountable for the radios and not losing any. So that's a big help to us. And then just, radio professionalism as a whole, no inappropriate radio handles or anything like that, because some people don't have headphones in. So if you say something that is negative or not appropriate, congoers can hear that. So.
Yep. Perfect. I'm just kind of catching up on chat a little bit here. I'm seeing a few people offer to help drive. I think we'll be covered, but noted. Thank you for the offer. Let's see. Yes, video gaming. Sorry. Video gaming, yes, is going to be just as big as our previous years, if not bigger. Frederick, I know he aims to outdo himself every year, and he still is angry about the situation that occurred last year at Satterfest as a result of the double booking. He had a lot of plans for that room, and the double booking situation, the late setup, just made about half of them have to go out the window, and he is near desperate, it seems, to redeem himself for that. So I'm sort of expecting some really impressive things to come out of the video game room this year. But related, yes, there's a ton of stuff. He's got a bigger staff than usual, so he may or may not actually need additional hands. But again, if he needs help, we'll definitely post that into Slack here. Yeah, AV teardown is usually pretty quick. The setting it up is the time-consuming part. Brandon, I see you said something about asking about hotel policies. Obviously, we expect everyone in the convention, whether you're a staff or attendee, to follow whatever the hotel's policies are. So, yes, any applicable hotel policies and laws and all that fun stuff absolutely do apply. Let's see. What to do? Okay, I think I'm caught up in Slack here. So let me get back to the list. Oh, wait, we covered a lot of this stuff here. Oh, right, okay, staff housing. Let's talk about that. So just a quick note. If you have requested to be in a staff room, then to you. If you are not staying in a staff room, which means if you booked a hotel room on your own and directly through the hotel, this does not apply to you. And then also if obviously if you're not staying at the hotel, if you're low, or maybe staying in a different hotel, then obviously this doesn't apply to you. So this next segment only applies to you if you're on that staff housing sheet in the staff housing channel and all that fun stuff. Will, there's some background noise. I see you rejoined, but if you could mute and take it away from that background noise. Thank you. Okay, so staff housing. Here's how this covered this whole thing. So staff housing, the room rate is 100 plus the 15% essentially taxes, which is a combination of what's I think like the state and local and all that. So it comes together to 15%. So it comes out to approximately $125 per night. Each night, we would expect that, okay, so what we do is using that staff housing list that we put together, we will take that and we will give it to the hotel. And so basically the convention is booking on your behalf if you're on the staff housing sheet, and only if you're on the staff housing sheet. And when you go to check in, you're just checking in as yourself. So even though we booked it for you, it's still under your name and under the names of all the people that are in your room. And everybody in the room will get their own key. But here's what's important, and that's room captains. That room captains is basically a term that we use to indicate the person who's in charge of the room. The room captain needs to be, or rather will end up being, the first person that checks into the room, because they're the ones that need to put down their card to secure the room and all that fun stuff, and the bill in the room will be in their name and everything. So if you are the room captain for your room, you need to be the first one to check into it of your roommates. If somebody else shows up first and they don't want to wait for the current room captain to show up, they can say, I'll just check into it first, and then they can become the room captain by checking into it first and putting on their credit card and doing all that fun stuff. That's fine. It doesn't have to be the room captain that checks in first, but the first person to check in will be the room captain. So to be clear on that. It's up to each room individually, however they want to handle internally amongst themselves as to how the other roommates will end up, reimbursing the room captain for their share of the room. The only thing that the convention says as a rule on this is if the room captain wants to, they can require optionally that their roommates pay them in advance for their share of the room. The reason why we have that rule is simply because there's been a few situations in the past where somebody has said, oh yeah, I'll pay you when I get there, no problem, and they show up, and then it's been, oh, something happened and I don't have the money anymore and I'll send it to you later. Well, that's not fair to the room captain. So if the room captain feels comfortable with their roommates and they can, they're willing to take on the risk, so to speak, of saying to their roommates, you can pay me later, no problem, that's fine. But it is entirely up to them if they want to say that, or if they want to say, no, I'd feel more comfortable having my roommates pay me up front just to avoid any issues. If a room captain wants to do that, please contact me. I'll sort of help arrange things, and in terms of figuring out how we make that happen. But that's we only do that. We don't do that because we don't trust people, but we simply do that just because accidents and situations can happen, and we just want to make sure that whoever the person is that has volunteered to be room captain doesn't potentially financially suffer from a roommate's bad luck, I guess it would be a way to put that. Are there any questions? Now I'm looking at chat, I'm listening to my managers. Are there any questions about staff housing and room captains and how all that works? It's in terms of guy named Earl, you're not the only, and it got handled, so no need to apologize. But yeah, so it's approximately, somebody did the math, it's $125.35 per night, assuming that no additional charges were placed onto the room. Don't be calling room service or anything like that. I mean, you can, but just pay for it. But the general expectation is that each night would be divided by the number of people in the room. On the sheet, if you've opted to put your name in 2 slots on a night to indicate that you want your own bed, obviously you're paying for half of the room instead of a quarter of the room. Assuming we're talking about 4 potential slots, 4 people in the room. I know that there's a few cases where some people are arriving different days than other people in the room. Again, it's sort of up to the room individually as how to handle those situations. But my suggestion, and for the sake of fairness, is that each night be looked at individually. So if there's 2 people in a room on the first night and then 3 people in a room on the next night, then when you're doing your math and figuring who owes what, the first night, each person would pay half of the 125, and then the second night, the 3 people would each pay a third of the 125, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's the way I think it should work, to be fair. But if a room decides that they want to cut up the money differently for whatever reason, I mean, that's entirely up to you, as long as 100% of everybody is okay with it. If one person is not okay with it, then you go by the way I just laid it out. Any questions or difficulties with understanding or arranging all this stuff in regards to staff housing? Please let us know. What if you show up first and don't want to become the room captain, then captain to show up? You're welcome to hang out in the hotel. If operations is open, you can pick up your staff badge. By all means, go pick up your badge and hop to work. But unfortunately, you will not be able to get into your room until somebody checks into it, and whoever checks in first becomes the room captain, by effect, by putting their card down. So if you beat your room captain there and don't want to or can't be captain. You just have to wait for them to get there and do whatever you're going to do in the meantime. The hotel does have an ATM. Yes. I think they've done pretty well as far as keeping it filled for us in the past. Let's see. Also, in case you're not familiar with this kind of thing, when you're checking into the room and putting your card down, understand that, I forget what the number is if somebody can remind me, but the way that they place a charge on a credit card versus a debit card is different. With a debit card, I think they pre-authorize something like $100 a night for how long you're supposed to be there, something like that. Can somebody correct me on this?
For Hyatt, it's usually 50.
50. Okay. When you do check in, I know there's a little placard on the at the registration desk that explains and lists out the fees and everything. But just generally speaking, understand that whatever it is, whether it's 50 or 75 or 100 or whatever it is per night, that with a debit card, that money gets taken out right away. With a credit card, they basically just do like an authorization check, but they don't actually charge you, I think, until you check out. So just be mindful of that. When choosing which card you're going to put down. When will staff headquarters room be open to pick up our badge and shirt? That is to be determined. I would estimate 3 o'clock, if not earlier. But we'll once we get things scheduled out and get some logistics decided on, then we'll post a Slack exactly when.
We have to figure out if anyone will be there before me, because I have to pick up the gear in the morning, so I won't be on site till about 2 or 3 p.m. So
Okay.
It might be sooner, it might be later.
Yeah, it pretty much just comes down to when both the stuff and the people get there. I mean, operations will probably open up as soon as they can once those two things have happened. It's just I think they just need to talk internally, and we need to get some delivery stuff figured out in terms of figuring out when that common denominator is going to be. I mean, 5 o'clock at the absolute latest, because that's when pre-reg opens. If operations isn't open when pre-reg opens, well, then we have a problem. But so 5 p.m. on Thursday at the absolute latest, hopefully much earlier than that.
We will try to get it open as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Parking, yes, just in case anyone is not clear on this. The garage that is attached to the Hyatt Regency Milwaukee is not owned by the Hyatt Regency Milwaukee. It's a separate company altogether. So there is a nightly parking fee to park in that garage, even if you're staying at the Hyatt. It is $25, I believe. If you valet, obviously it's more. But there are other garages and parking in the immediate vicinity that, and some of them are a little bit cheaper. There's under the venue header on the website, there's a page about parking information. That was originally written though 2 years ago, so some of that may be out of date. So I need to see if I can have time to have somebody check to see if any of that information needs to be updated. But just generally speaking, I'd also recommend maybe Park Hero, Park Wiz, a Spot Hero, I should say, or Park Wiz, just to see if more economical options in the area, if that's what you're looking for. Otherwise, yeah, the garage is attached to the hotel, $25 a night.
Since Corey's here, this don't park at the hotel parking lot.
What's that?
Corey always says every year, don't park at that parking garage because they're a bunch of scumbags or something to that nature. I didn't mean to say it like that. I apologize.
I know he's not fans of them, I think, for personal reasons. I have no opinion one way or the other. But yeah, I know. Yeah, there is some street parking. I think Pirate mentions free on Sundays. But obviously, being street parking, that's heavily limited. Personally speaking, I would rather street parking go to our attendees anyways, especially for the people that are just coming from the day. So I would request that staff not take street parking if just to favor our attendees on that. But I can't make you. So Brent says, "Bless you, Michelle." So yeah, let's see. I'm not seeing any. If you've asked a question that hasn't been answered yet, please do re-ask it. Otherwise, I'm re-scanning things to see if there's anything that needs to be talked about that we haven't covered yet. Generally speaking, like I said, we do expect that our attendees and staff will follow local laws. So if you're not 21 yet, please don't drink. Yeah, that's just an interaction I would prefer not to have to deal with. Does the chat not work on mobile? I didn't know that. I'm being told that the YouTube chat on the live stream might not be available on a mobile device. I was not aware of that, so sorry.
They have been monitoring it on my phone. It's working fine.
Oh, okay. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, just in case anybody was wondering, yeah, so obviously, because we've been talking about the times we can get into these various rooms, no, we are not double booked this year, so hooray. Let's see. Yes, so there one of the spaces that we do have in the convention is the sponsor lounge. Just in case anybody was wondering, that is for sponsors that have access to it, not staff. The sponsor lounge, obviously, but even if you are, just to briefly explain why this is worth mentioning, is because the sponsor lounge is in an event space, we can't bring in our own food and drinks. So we have to basically have it catered by the hotel. So when you walk in there and you see, like those bins of like bottles of chips and all that, those are not ours. Those are placed there and counted by the hotel. You know how when you check into your room and you see that bottle of water and it says, "Drink me for $5 a bottle," pay for those. I know it's exactly $5, but the point is it's expensive. And so, we're happy to provide that for our sponsors because we literally could not exist without them. But staff, please don't take sponsor lounge stuff. Thank you. I think, okay. Is that everything, guys? Have we covered everything we wanted to talk about here?
I have one last thing, at least my angle.
Oh yeah, good idea. One thing that Michelle just reminded me of. This would be a good opportunity to talk about it. We're going to be introducing something for this convention. We're working on we're finally out the exact details and getting like a logo and some stuff made up. But we're going to be introducing something that tentatively, probably, finally, we're going to be calling us. Okay, so you're familiar with the term "caught red-handed," which is you've been caught in the act of doing something. This is a full, credit where credit's due. This is pretty much entirely Michelle's idea, which I fell in love with, and helping to make into a reality. We're basically going to be doing something that we're calling "caught brony-handed." And what this basically means, and no, not caught brony hoofed before the first person says it. It's caught brony handed because we are humans.
Damn.
Okay.
Please speak for yourself.
Yeah. So here's what this is. We are going to be having some special badge ribbons made up. That basically, they're probably going to say something along the lines of "I was caught brony handed." What these are going to be is they will be distributed to key people in staff, maybe some guests of honor. Like I said, logistics still being worked out, but they will be distributed to some key people, and those people. And so what'll happen is so staff, if you see somebody that essentially does a good deed, just think about, the Boy Scouts. Well, I did my good deed for the day because I held this door open for somebody, or maybe you saw somebody pick up some trash, or maybe something more impressive than that, or whatever. The point is, we want to encourage people to be good and kind and to take care of each other and to, you know, just be good. Really is is the best way to say it. So to encourage that, this initiative, Copperoni Handed, is going to be, so if you see somebody doing a good deed, you know, it will be known who has these badge ribbons to give out. So, you know, talk to, you know, your manager, or, you know, talk to somebody and say, hey, I just saw this happen. I think this person should get a Copperoni Handed ribbon. And so, and then they'll get one, and then they can put it on their badge, and it's basically, it'll be like, you know, badge of honor, I guess, at some point, you know, maybe a little bit of like, I don't know, I don't want to say bragging points, because that's the wrong reason to do good things, but you probably understand what I'm trying to say. And so, what's that?
Do they stack?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Do they stack? Like, can you get like 2 or 3?
No, just just the one. But yeah, just sort of encouraging people to be good. And we will be reserving the details on this, but how do I say this?
If you get one on Sunday, you get special treatment.
Well, yeah. So when you get your ribbon, so if somebody gets one of these ribbons, there will be something written on the back of it. And so if you are lucky enough to present somebody with one of these ribbons and you say, hey, I saw you do this really cool thing back there, you know, you get one of these. And this is, you know, we're going to let people know about this. Like we're, you know, when we announce it, we're going to, like, you know, publicize that it's a thing and everything. It'll be in the comic book and all that. So, you know, people should at least have a general sense of that this initiative exists. But if staff, if you are lucky enough to see this happen and to be able to present somebody with one of these ribbons, just make sure that you tell them, hey, there's something written on the back of this. Take a look at that. Make sure you look at that. And, you know, we'll be reserving details of what that is, simply because it's still in planning. But you know, just you know, good deeds should be rewarded, and so that is the plan. So again, thank you, Michelle, for coming up with a cool thing. But yeah, any other points I didn't cover? No? Why are you laughing at me?
Just keep going.
She always laughs at me. I never know why. But yeah. So hopefully people, just generally speaking, keep up with the website. And so you've seen a bunch of the stuff that was announced recently. The fact that we sold out of almost all of our sponsored badges, still, I'm not over it. Like, I just, I'm just really just blown away by the support that we're getting from our sponsors this year, to the point where, you know, for, you know, logistical and financial reasons, we didn't want to tell people that still want to be sponsors, no, sorry, we have enough. We came up with a whole new sponsor badge that, you know, we're basically calling, you know, we've got the Spike sponsor and the Sparkle and this, you know, Celestial and the Alicorn and the Equestria. So just kind of fitting into that, it's a Changeling sponsor badge. And so you can read it on the website. But you know, the fact that we had to do that, it's the fact that that was is kind of great, because, you know, I think I said something very similar last year. You know, in an environment where you're kind of seeing, you know, this was Brony Cans last year. You know, Nightmare Nights has announced that this is their last year. And I think, you know, there may be like 1 or 2 others where basically they said, yeah, you know, we're good, we're done, thank you. The fact that that we're seeing our support increase, you know, we're up in pre-reg, we're basically up in everything. We were sort of planning / hoping to be up, and so we based our budget around this. So it's not like we have all this extra money to spend now, just to be super clear. But you know, the fact that things have gone to plan in terms of, you know, continuing the growth that we've had is just awesome. So, you know, for any sponsors that are watching, thank you. I mean, you just, you know, I won't be able to say that enough, genuinely. So.
The signs from the rooms and who gets. Make sure you say that the kids one goes to the.
Yeah. So the just to sort of in advance, because this always ends up being a question in terms of what happens to the banner signs that are outside of the event rooms. So 2 things. One, the big one, sorry, I get that. And also, please, before you leave on Sunday, I would like everybody on staff to please sign that. So when I take that home, I've got all the staff signatures on there. That would be great. In terms of the individual banner signs, the way we've kind of done it in the past, about doing it differently potentially, but the way we've done it in the past is sort of the department head gets first dibs, just because you know, thank them for their extra efforts that they put in, especially in planning and stuff like that. This year is that we're doing something with the kids room, in that we're having an art contest, and the winner of the contest gets their art on that banner, and then the winner gets to take the kids room banner home. If the kids department head would like me to order a second copy of the banner for them, just let me know. I think it's like not even like $20. If you want a second one for yourself, that's no problem. I have no problems getting you one if you it's just so you don't get have to get to miss out on that. But otherwise, yes. And also, kind of a super important thing to me. At closing ceremonies, please, if you are able, if you're there and everything, the big staff photo that we take. Michelle's like she's playing with stuff over here. It's distracting. The staff photo that we take at closing ceremonies is also something that's really important to me, just because just a memento for everybody to look back and like see our con family and everything. I think that's kind of a big deal. So please do make an effort. I ask operations to shut down during that period. Registration should be closed, but if you're still packing up your departments at that point for closing ceremonies, please just pause and do join us in main events, so that you can be there for the staff photo. That's something that's I really do make an effort of requesting that everybody be there. It's a little thing for me. So yeah. Let's see. Taking a moment to review chat here. If any managers want to jump in with anything, go for it while I'm looking.
Ooh, that sounds like me.
So yes, you count.
Yeah. Pardon. Sorry. Yeah. I'm, as aforementioned, sick. So the vendor hall has basically 3 main time periods: open, vendors only, and closed. Open, I mean, it's open to anyone who has a badge. Key on the has a badge part. But closed should be obvious. No one in without either me or I guess Charlie. But preferably less people have access when it's closed, the better. And then vendors only means vendors and vendor staff only. Every year at every con I ever go to, there's always one security staff member who's wandering around off shift in the vendor hall during setup. It's doesn't matter what con, it's always a thing. And I'd really prefer to keep that limited to 0 people doing that.
Second, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's it.
That's it. Sort of just kind of take oh, yes, please do get better. Yeah, just generally speaking, everybody, I know, this is I'm stealing this from Frederick, but wanderitis is a thing. Please do try and keep it in check. Especially for if you're on patrol and security, for example, not the time to stop and play some video games. It's obviously, like I said before, it's important that we all have fun at this thing, but while you're on shift, please do put your responsibilities first, and kind of save other stuff for later when you're on. On that note, do make sure all staff that managers. I know many departments are currently in the process of setting up their individual schedules. Make sure. So first of all, do make sure that you tell your managers if there's events that you want to attend, so that they can do their best to not schedule you during those things. Now, emphasis on so they can do their best. It is not a guarantee that everybody will be able to get off for every single thing that they want to go see. If somebody turns in a list of saying they want to see half the things in the convention, well, that's probably not going to work out. because obviously just general staff requirements, which actually I'm realizing should have been at the top of this call, but I'll cover that in a second. But so do make sure that you let your managers know the panels that you want to see, and they will do their best to schedule outside of them. Also, if you are not showing up at the hotel until Friday, if you're not getting there Thursday at all, please make sure that your managers know what time you are getting there, especially if it's going to be later than like 8 or 9 a.m. Because the convention kicks off at 11, registration opens I think at 8 or 9. Going to be happening. Setup is going to be happening. All sorts of stuff is going to be happening. If you're not getting there until after 8 or 9 a.m. on Friday if you're getting on Friday at all, if you're not arriving until Friday, period, just make sure your manager is aware of that. Some people may have told me when I was bringing people onto staff, hey, just so you know, I can't get there until this. And at the time I may have said, okay, that should be fine. We can work around that. Doesn't necessarily mean that I remembered to tell the manager. So assume I forgot and just make sure that you tell the manager if you're not getting there until Friday. Rewinding, apologies, this should have been at the top, but just to make sure everybody is clear on this. Staff, to get your staff benefits, and by that I mean your staff badge, your staff t-shirt, and your opportunity to get the discounted staff housing, the basic requirements that we have is that you contribute at least 20 hours of your time over the course of the weekend. Managers should be doing their best to schedule people out for that and account for that 20 hours in advance. And if you want to and are able to safely and healthily, is that a word, put in more time, I mean, that is certainly welcome. But at the very least, just to make sure that that things are fair, we do ask that everybody put in 20 hours of their time across the course of the convention. That includes Thursday night setup and all that. So yeah, if you have any questions about that and about your specific schedule, again, please speak to your manager directly. Casey is watching. Hi, Casey. I see you asked, where did you get the pony rack? I'm assuming that was directed towards me. If you're referring to this white shelf from behind me, that is an old piece from IKEA. That's actually like a CD DVD shelf that they don't sell anymore, which I'm sad at because I would like many more of them, but they stopped selling that. Yeah, let's see. If your department needs help and you're off shift or not on shift, can you hop on to help? You can offer. I wouldn't just jump into it, because because there's probably nuances about working with different departments, either just in general or maybe even at that particular time that you might not be aware of if that's not your home department. So you can certainly offer to the department head, say, hey, I've got some time. Do you need any help? And then they can choose to accept you, but I would say, like, if you're video gaming and you want to work, you can't just all of a sudden decide to be a security officer. Please do ask first for permission. But appreciate the initiative, though. But yeah, there's training that goes into all these departments, and just knowledge that you might not have. So just ask first, please. If anybody else wants to jump in while I'm reviewing chat, go ahead. I'm not dabbing again at closing. That was a one-time thing. It will not happen again. No.
Group.
No.
Having photo at closing ceremonies, guys.
No.
Are we allowed to make stage bacon?
Are you allowed to what?
Are we allowed to make stage bacon?
Make stage bacon?
So it's a thing
Possibly
where you have
inappropriate. I'm not sure.
You have a hot plate behind stage, a pan in which you make bacon, so that you have food on stage.
No, because we can't have our own food in convention spaces. Also, what?
Wait,
okay,
stage bacon is a thing.
Yeah, that might just be a Battle of the Bands thing, though.
Okay. I see somebody asking about training. I'm not sure what the context of that is, but just generally speaking, your department head should be at some point coming up with a time to go over things and have a breakout meeting and talk about training and various things. So for you staffers that are your first time, your department head should be communicating to you when and how you will find out what your responsibilities are.
What are you looking for?
Hopefully,
There's one right
probably in a meeting beforehand.
Off the side.
Will, could you mute, please?
The first is. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was muted.
No problem. So yeah, so like if you're in a registration, for example, you've never worked registration at a con before, Lumpy, your department head, should be having a meeting at some point to kind of explain how everything's going to work. And then probably, I assume, we'll be going over things with everybody also, like, probably in a Thursday meeting before pre-reg opens, and then maybe again Friday morning, depending on how things go. It might just be literally on-the-job training. So, but again, your department head will cover all of that. Viper dress code as rompers. No. That's not a thing. Not a thing. Well, guy named Earl, you're fired.
He's the best.
Let's see.
So is Will for suggesting dabbing.
No, I need him too much.
Fine, he's back
Also,
on probation.
Also, Ops, just a heads up, we do have our meeting out directly after this, so I'll be shooting a link over to you guys in Slack.
I think. Oh, okay. So there's one other thing that I can talk about that's new this year, and this is, I guess, less of a training thing and more of just a. So here's a new thing, and people are going to have questions. So might as well just explain it now in the call. The idea was floated many months ago about the possibility of doing a dating auction. We are not doing that. We are, however, doing something that kind of got birthed out of a conversation. Probably shouldn't have gone from dating auction to birthing comment, but whatever.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah. So okay, I won't use the B word again. So it's a concept that developed out of our conversation about if we could do a dating auction, and the answer to that ended up being no for a variety of reasons. But so what we're doing instead is a friendship auction, and this is slightly tentative, but kind of here's this has sort of just been a culmination of mine and Cowboy Dave's and Vivid's sort of minds coming together on this one. Here's how this is going to work. The part that's similar to what you probably picture of a dating auction. Oh, actually, no. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop comparing it to a dating auction altogether. So the first thing that we're going to explain to people is that first and foremost, this is for fun and it's for charity. Literally the only thing that the winning bidder gets out of being the winning bidder is we're going to have a little like foam something sign made up that's going to say something along the lines of I'm officially this person's best friend, or not, or I'm officially this person's friend, or something like that. And what the winning bidder will get is, with the person that they bid on, and we're the highest bidder on, is that they'll get a photograph of them with this person, with this sign, where they can then go and show off to their friends and brag about the fact that, hey, look, I have photographic evidence that I am this person's friend. Again, is for charity is the primary focus here. We are not making friends for life is not the point here. This is basically just something that we're doing for fun, in an extra effort to raise money for our charity this year, Generations Against Bullying. And we're exploring the idea of possibly actually having a photo printer there to actually print them out and have a little frame and everything, and give them actually a nice little keepsake to take home. But that's it in a nutshell. As far as how it's going to work beyond that, somebody will come up on stage, and whoever the auctioneer is will kind of say, like, this is John Doe, and he likes this, and this is the kind of person he is, yada yada yada. We'll open the bidding at $1, and just kind of take it from there, and then it'll work like a normal auction. The winning bidder, their picture taken, have their little keepsake, and the money goes to charity. That's the gist of it. I am now opening the floor to anybody that has comments or possible concerns about this plan before it gets any more official.
Sad Panda could use some friends, so I mean, I think that's a good idea.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Does that mean he won't be so sad anymore?
Well, God, I hope.
Yeah,
not.
I'll have to change my name.
That's his whole shtick. I'm looking at chat to see if there's any. We'll come back to a couple things here. I will burn Charlie Woolley if I see it.
He's returning. He's my assistant department head.
God.
But Charlie Woolley edge.
He will be 1 year old at this convention.
So yeah, we talked about the idea of like working the the time slot for the auction is actually the last thing before the room closes on Friday to get set up for the gala. We talked about the idea of maybe incorporating something at the gala into it, but still we just because of just a variety of reasons, we didn't want to have any more implied obligation there, like more than just simply what I described, the just there was too much, and as we thought about the different ways that different scenarios could go, it basically just came down to there being just too much concern over things, a situation where there's like, you're supposed to be, like you're supposed to be someone's date, or you're supposed to be dance with somebody at the gala and everything, where that just became too muddy. And then also with the gala being a ticketed event, we didn't want to, it just complicates that. Like, what if one person has a ticket and the other one doesn't, and so on and so forth. So we sort of just went away from that direction and landed where we did in terms of what the winning bidder gets. Yeah, we certainly did talk about it, but yeah. The off topic, but just because I came across it. Oh shoot, where'd it go? There's a somebody brought up the idea of having an outing to go see the movie at the con. We considered this. However, there are no movie theaters that are going to be playing it in walking distance, and so at that point, it becomes too complicated. And when you're talking about arranging like a mass, migration of people to a movie theater, it's now like a 4-hour process. 3 to 4 hour process. We don't really want a lot of reasons to leave the convention. We want them to stay at the convention and have fun. So, if there was a movie theater right next door, that would have been a different story. But it just didn't work out. Would have loved to have done it, but yeah. Let's see. The friendship auction thing. Who are the people whose friendship is going to be auctioned off? Is it a volunteer thing? Yes. We'll basically open it up, and we'll have a form where basically say if you would like to be auctioned off in the friendship auction, kind of think about it in the same way that you imagine like a cosplay contest works. It's like basically come to this place at this time, fill out this form, and then how many people show up, we may need to it's the possibility exists we may need to pick and choose who's going to make it into the auction just for time constraint purposes, because it's not like the charity auction where it's like multiple hours long, it's only an hour. So before, so we're not really sure about how long each auction is going to take. So there's a lot of things we're going to kind of have to figure out kind of as we go, trial by fire kind of situation. But yes, in terms of how one would get into, how one would put themselves up for auction, yeah, it'll be basically when we announce the event, it'll be if you want to do that, be at this place and at this time, fill out this form, and yeah, and there'll be more information than that, but that's the short version.
Hey Charlie, quick side comment with that.
Sure.
This is mostly, I guess, for you and me and Dave, but if we want to have like a separate sign-up time, we should make sure that that's on the schedule as well somehow.
Yeah, we'll talk about the logistics of that for sure, but
I had a plan for that. I guess we can talk about that in chat and Slack. So
cool, sounds good.
Sounds good.
I suppose I have no problems with Charlie Woolley being auctioned off in the auction. I have no problems with the person keeping and taking home and never letting see the light of day again. Charlie, Wooly, all of that's fine. It's all for charities.
Just part of their shrine, you know, whatever.
Yeah. I think, again, if you ask a question, please re-ask it in case it got buried in the chat here. I think that might be covering everything here. We will certainly offer the guests of honor and community guests, we'll let them know about the event, and if they want to do it, by all means. I imagine that, because it's for charity, some of them may be interested if they're available and not needing to be somewhere else. We're not, we can't count on it just because of their schedules being tight enough as it is. But it's certainly a possibility that you may see a community guest or musician or guest of honor pop up there. Unfortunately, Jen, no, you cannot bring your puppy. The hotel, last I checked, is not dog friendly, unless it's a service animal, of course. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. Managers, one last chance for anybody else to contribute anything to the conversation. Anybody that's watching, last chance to re-ask any unanswered questions in the YouTube chat here. Aside from that, once again, thank you to all the staff for donating your both to just being staff in general and also to attending this meeting tonight. I just want to make sure that it's understood how much it's appreciated, and then also to our attendees and especially our sponsors. Just the expectations for this year and just the the amount of support that we've been shown and everything has just been mind blowing, and so I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, honestly. Guy named Earl, I suppose I will be your friend, sure, for the low price of $50.
Geez, Charlie, you're a cheap date.
Let's see. I think that pretty much covers it. So I guess we can just call it that if nobody else has anything that they want to talk about. Please do, staff, keep up on Slack. Now that we are, as close to con as we are, it is vitally important that that communication be efficient and with everybody all the way down to to level 1 first-year staff. There are we have just shy of 100 people on staff this year, and approximately 10% of them, when I sent out that doodle survey in terms of when everybody would be available, about 10% of them did not respond to that survey, meaning they weren't following their email, they weren't checking the multiple notifications on Slack. And so I have a list of those 10 people, and some of them I have gotten explanations for, and some I haven't heard from at all. There's not a lot I'm a stickler on, but just when it comes to things that are specifically done to measure, to see who's paying attention, I definitely do take notice of that. So with those people, so to everybody that did reply, thank you. I appreciate it. To the few, well, you're on notice, I guess. Just please do better, I guess, is what I'm asking for here. You look bothered.
It's funny when you're angry.
It's funny when I'm angry, she says. I'm not very good at it. I'm sorry. I'm as intimidating as a sleeping poodle. Yeah. Anyways, I'll stop babbling. Since I don't know. See, this is the point where I even stop making sense to myself. So thanks everybody for your time. We greatly appreciate it. Final call for anybody to contribute anything or ask any questions. Going once, going twice. Okay.
Insert generic stupid comment.
We'll say again.
I said insert generic stupid comment here.
Oh yeah, exactly. Which
signifies the meeting is over.
So yeah, well done. Okay, so managers, don't hang up quite yet. After we go off air, we'll have a little postmortem. But to everybody else, we're going to go off air. Thanks very much for watching, and see you all in a little over a month. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.